Hey everyone, we are back for another week of exciting rehearsals. This week we are talking about a new you with Forte Athletics' Daniel Recoder and everything else that will be new this marching season. We will also find out what made Stephanie say,
"Yeah, I would need a Spanx contract." Like before, if I was gonna put on a costume again, I would have to be sponsored by some sort of undergarment company. But
and why Emily said,
"Hey, funny you mentioned that because when I'm not being a huge band nerd, I am actually in school to be a psychology person. So maybe that'll be my research thing. Who knows?"
All this and more. So get out on the field and we will see you back on the sidelines for this week's episode of On a Water Break.
8 off the mat and go.
Welcome to On a Water Break, the podcast where we talk everything marching arts.
Everyone, bring it in. It's time for a water break.
Welcome to another episode of Season 2 of On a Water Break, the podcast where we talk about everything you and your friends are talking about at rehearsal on a water break. I'm Jackie Brown. Okay, everybody knows that when we have a new year, it's time to look at ourselves and see what we will renew within ourselves, our families, and our lives. This week, we dive into all the new things that will be happening in the marching arts this year. We also have Daniel from Forte Athletics talking on the sideline to Stephen. So let's see who's on the sideline this week. Hey, Trish.
Hi, everyone.
I feel like I'm getting to see you more and more lately for some reason.
And I love it.
Me too. Hey, Stephanie.
hello, Happy New Year.
Woohoo. And Emily, welcome back.
Hello. Oh gosh, it's 2024 already. All right.
Right? Like, when did that happen? Well, okay, so there's several new things that are happening this year in WGI. Let's start there because that's literally right around the corner. First of all, there's no Pride of Cincinnati this year.
Nope.
I'm so sad.
Me too. They were
too.
phenomenal last year.
Always my favorite since I was in high school. Yeah, I always miss them when they're gone.
I feel like they just took a year off recently though, didn't they? Like
They
21
did.
maybe?
Yeah, maybe 2 years ago. It's been recent. Yeah, so you know what though? I will say this. I really love that they are like, this is not going to be a responsible decision for us to build a group this year, and we're going to take a year
Yes.
off. It's like there's some responsibility that goes along with that because I know that we all know programs that, get themselves in bad positions because they do come out like it's an expensive activity. And so I always miss them, but I also love that they set a standard of responsibility for all of us.
It's such I feel like there's a lot of pressure to just continually have a team and have a team and have a team every competitive season because, our activity, people can be, it's hard. It's hard to recruit people. And so if you miss a
Right.
year, then you're not going to have as many people the next year. But really, if you've got a really solid program, that's not something you're going to have to worry about. And I don't think they have
Right.
to worry about. Let's talk about some of these proposals that they've got. These are past proposals, like they've already gone through. So proposal 8. So basically, I'm lost here. So you're going to have to explain all of this to me and the listeners.
Okay, so I'm probably not the best person to talk about this either. But so basically proposal 8, I'm just going to read, it's like 2 sentences. It says, the board reviewed a proposal to amend the color guard steering committee membership. It was unanimous to approve the proposal, so the committee will now consist of 5 color guard instructors elected by the advisory board and 2 adjudicators assigned by the chief judge. Now, the one thing that makes me feel good about this is that that you have 5 color guard instructors on the steering committee. And so I think anytime that you can have color guard instructors along with judges, because that's who's putting the numbers down on the sheet, that are even getting you to the review process or wherever you need to be with the steering committee. So I like that they're working together, but WGI has always been so good about, we are run by the people, by the units. The units are the people that are setting, that are deciding the future of WGI. So I love that it is 5 color guard instructors that are elected by the advisory board. So they're elected by their own self. And then 2 adjudicators that are assigned by the chief judge. So, I just think anytime that you can have those 2 working in conjunction, it's going to be a plus. And the steering committee that's a pretty big thing. So I think
was going to say, what kind of decisions does the steering committee make? Do you know?
I'm pretty sure that the steering committee, aren't they the people that decide the review process? Remember, we had a lot of units that were reviewed and promoted last year.
Yeah.
And I thought it was great. Because we all look at that A and open class groups and we're like, yeah, you should really be in the next class. but those are the people that are making those decisions. And I thought they did a great job this year, or last year, but, I think that's one of the things that they do. So I'm excited about that. And then the next proposal was that they increased the maximum number of performers from 40 to 50. And that, the only financial increase was the number of medals needed. But, and with Pride out, that leaves the slot for somebody else to slide on up there and maybe get one of those medals.
Well, that's just it. That's what we were thinking about earlier. Who's our next contender to break into that top 3? Is it
That's right.
a Fusion, who came in 4th place last year, right down the road from me in northern New Jersey? Is it going to be them? Right. They're relatively new to world class, but they certainly broke in to the top 5 last year. Is it going to be them? Is it going to be somebody like an Onyx, who's certainly achieved that in their past, could move, bump up? Or is it going to be somebody that we're totally not even thinking about right now? Some of those Texas teams and some of those Florida teams. Is it going to be somebody like that? We don't know.
I feel like AMP could just sort of crawl out of a hole in the ground and be really creepy and then win it.
Wouldn't the crowd go crazy?
My kids would be here for it. They would be so here for it.
Mine too. And it's funny because when I look at that proposal from 40 to 50, I'm like, how? You are literally going to be from the first row on each side. Where in the world would you ever put 50 kids on the floor? But not my problem. I'm sure somebody will figure it out.
I was at one of our, both of my groups competed at one of our local circuit championships last year, and they had it. I won't say who or where or whatever. And the facility they had it in was a really small high school gym. And here comes Fusion with their ginormous floor. And I guess 40 people last year. That's what they were allowed to have. I never actually counted. And those ramps that they had and everything. People were literally standing on their floor because it was just packed. I can't even imagine. Now, once the number goes to 50, are the floors going to get bigger? Is the performance space going to get bigger? How's that going to affect all of this? Now you're hosting a show. We've been dealing with this, the last few years in northern New Jersey. At my school, our Sharp gym is probably even smaller than the one where that championship was. But now we've been dealing with the last couple of years. There was one year that Fusion did want to come to my show, and I had to call them and say, I'm really sorry. We would love to have you, but you're not going to fit. Thank you for reaching out, but you're not going to fit. So now with 50 people, are the floors going to get bigger? Is the performance space going to change? Now you're really limiting the venues that you can perform in. So although that was going to be my next question. Although it's going to benefit you at the end when you get to World Championships and all those other events, it's going to benefit you then. But locally, competitively, we're going to do shows.
Okay, this might be strange, but just throwing this out there. historically, has the limit always been 40 or less? I want to say when I marched, it was like 30.
30.
But has it always been lower?
I think it was 30 when I think it was 30.
It was 30 for a really long time, and then it went to 40, and now it just went to 50.
So it's never been more than that, though. That's wow. I wonder what it's going to look like, because just how do you move that many people on the floor without looking like you're crowded in the space?
Right.
More members, bring in more revenue, bring in more.
It's true.
You know,
follow those dollar bills.
That's right.
What about the power regionals?
Yeah, that's an exciting.
That's exciting.
That's exciting.
From the normal regionals to the power regionals, just for our listeners, like, what's the difference there?
The registration fee. They tend to be 2-day regionals. I believe they also tend to have double judging panels.
That's what I was going to say. I think it's a double panel. I think that's the biggest thing too.
Yeah.
And then I think maybe because they're the 2-day regionals, I think you have there's more entry fees because you're going to have it's going to be Saturday.
Oh yeah,
Sunday.
the fee was higher.
More units. Mm-hmm. Yeah, that there's more units that can perform as well. But those are the weekends that I come in from my Saturday rehearsal, whatever time it ends, and I just plant myself on the couch with a pizza and a beverage, and I am glued to flow marching for the whole Saturday night and the entire day Sunday. I am just text me. I'm just sitting on the couch watching guard.
But it's going to be really exciting because this is the first time since COVID that we've had our power regionals back, and I think the kids are going to be really pumped up about it, and I think it's going to be really great. I'm excited.
Well, and that to put that kind of in perspective too, since we haven't had it since COVID, none of the high school students have done a WGI where power regionals existed because they were all freshmen when COVID happened, and now they're seniors and they're like, wait a minute, what is this new thing, this power regional thing?
Right. That's true. It's so much. It doesn't, in some ways it seems like COVID, which I guess we're coming on 4 years ago, seems like it was kind of yesterday. And then other times when you think there's a whole class of high school kids that it just seems like, oh my gosh, you were a baby the last time we had a power regional. I never even thought about it like that.
I've been getting kids at the Macy's band who weren't born when September 11th happened.
Oh my God, it's crazy.
And it was wait a minute. Oh wait, I forgot. I forgot how old this was. Because we're being in New York and we talk about the World Trade Center or we go tour or whatever. But and it's you weren't even alive when this event occurred.
Jackie, did you just date yourself?
Wow.
So the biggest news probably concerning WGI though is this 6140 downstairs captions situation, which another thing that I don't fully understand what's going on here myself, but it's a judging difference now.
Yeah. So that's going to change how it's scored. And it seems to be giving more emphasis on the downstairs captions and, for our younger units, me being in Scholastic A, the training and all that kind of stuff, which I think is really great. I think it's really important that whatever level you're on, if you're on the regional A, it might be regional A as well, but it probably, definitely is A class. But I think that's really important. I tell my kids all the time, when it's we're going to do basics and it's oh. But I was you need basics. You have to. It's so important. It's so important so that you can move on to the amps and the fusions of the world. You have to have a good, solid foundation. And I think putting an emphasis on that forces everybody to really, really dive into their basics and their training. And it takes it away from, these kids want to do these tricks before they're really ready for it. And
That's exactly what I was going to say is these kids that walk in and they cannot do a drop spin, but they can do a double 45 sit turn.
It's crazy.
It's
crazy.
nuts to me. Yeah, to me, there's still nothing better than an ensemble that can do 8 drop spins together. To me, it just makes my heart pitter pat.
Yeah. I'm really happy to see it going back to that.
Me too. Yeah, I think it's, it's kind of going back to the roots a little bit of like, it is about technique and it is about training. And maybe I'm dating myself as well. But to me, like those groups that are well trained versus well rehearsed are the most impressive groups to me. So I'm happy about it.
Yeah, it's really great. And I always say to my kids too, even in marching band season, if they hate the show, but they tell me your kids are really well trained, I'm good.
Mm-hmm.
So
right.
It's
highest
great.
compliment.
Yes, absolutely.
Well, speaking of outdoor, what about the DCI All Age? Do we have any updates on that?
To be honest with you, I haven't heard a lot. I know I have a bunch of kids, a bunch meaning 2 or 3, working with me. I know, right?
That's a bunch. That's more than I have.
Working with me, with my teams that performed at a DCA core last year that surprisingly are kind of on the fence about returning next summer because they're going to have to travel to India now. It's more money and it's this and it's that. And I'm trying to bring it to them that like, but you're going to perform at DCIs. Yeah. So, it's really, I've heard mixed things. It seems to be like just scuttlebutt that I've heard. It seems to be like the people who can no longer do DCI Open and World tend to be more interested than the ones who like that, already there and already. It seems to be like, oh, I could go back, and I could perform at DCIs. Maybe I should consider that. So there's kind of like, I don't want to say an older crowd, but like kind of seems to be more interest from that end than from the younger crowd that just performed DCA last summer. They're kind of like, I don't know if I'm going to do it. It's more money. It's more travel. It's this, it's that.
Well, so
I don't know.
That's an interesting
I don't know.
take on it.
Yeah, it is.
I don't know too much about it, but what I do know is that there is a new drum corps in Idaho. I think they're called the Boise Gems. And I think as of right now, they're all age, but I'm not actually sure if that's going to stay like that. It'd be nice to have a DCA up in the Northwest where I'm from, where there's kind of just like a slight void in the marching arts, but
Right. No, that would be awesome.
I've never lived in an area that had a DCA core nearby.
Me neither.
And to be completely honest, I'm not sure I've ever seen a DCA core perform live. I've obviously seen them on video, but and YouTube over the years, but never live. So as an audience member, I'm really excited about learning more about it. But I do know from friends that have marched DCA that they kind of have their own little special thing. And I hope that they're able to combine the integrity of, what they've always had and what makes their DCA core so special and combining it with this new tour thing. Like, I hope that the added expense and the added travel is not the end of DCA as it's been, because there are a lot of people that really, that's their thing. So, but as an audience member, I'm super excited to get to experience it and see what it's all about.
As a former performer, would you consider going to a DCA group and being a performer again for the summer for the chance to perform like at Lucas Oil?
So
no.
Too old. I'm on the opposite end. I think
I leave rehearsal and I'm like hobbling out with all my weight on the floor cart after a 4-hour rehearsal where I'm teaching and whatever. So my time has come and gone as a performer. But that's me. That's just
if
me.
I were younger, 1,000%.
Mm-hmm. Yeah, that's true.
But ain't nobody trying to see anybody my age out there. But if I were younger, for sure. Absolutely.
Yeah. I would need a Spanx contract like before. If I was going to put on a costume again, I would have to be
I would
sponsored by
participate.
some sort of undergarment company. But I mean, I'm glad that option exists for people.
As someone who never got to perform in DCI or anything, I was always yield, audience member. The prospect of DCA seems actually really interesting because, of course, 5 years after the fact that I age out of eligible corps, it's just like, oh, now I learned the correct instrument, baritone for context.
There you go.
Yeah, so like that's one of those things though. But I will say you would have aged out 5 years ago, and we're kind of talking about there is such a difference of like those people who are just aging out, not wanting to like continue. I kind of feel like that's a little bit of that like burnout happens. You march and you march, you go to world championships and then you're like, okay, I aged out, I am tired, I am done. So yeah, it's interesting. But hey, maybe some people will come back after their little hiatus, like SCV is back now from their hiatus. How is that going to shake up our DCI lineup, you think?
It's funny because we just talked about Pride of Cincinnati and how they can take a year off and come back and just kind of seem like they didn't skip a beat, no pun intended. It will be interesting to see if a drum corps can do the same thing. I think all eyes will be on them to see, just to see how that goes. Funny thing, I guess, about that, the flip side of it is I think everybody's pulling for them.
Great job, everyone. Set your equipment down. Gush and go.
All right. That sound means it is time for our gush and goes. So, Trish, why don't you start us off? What do you want to gush and go on about this week?
As we're talking about Winter Guard season kicking off, the main preview show up in our area is, brace yourself, next Saturday, the 13th. So it's really just like a fun day where everybody just kind of goes out and does their show and gets an evaluation. It's not scored and whatever. But, today, of course we see it on the calendar. We start doing the paperwork and everything. But today it kind of hit real. I was like, oh, wow. Okay, we are going next Saturday. So I'm really excited. I'm also nervous, but I'm really excited. My both teams are going to be going. My high school team, Northern Valley High School, and my independent team, Envy. Get it, Envy? It sounds like Northern Valley, Envy. So they'll both be going, and both of them are in completely different predicaments. One is super competitive. One is just kind of like an alumni group, the kids just getting together and doing it and whatever. But so we're approaching it from two different angles, and today it became real. Like people texting me and calling me, "Are you doing this? What do you, what are you doing about the other team?" Well, I was like, "Oh wow, this really is happening next Saturday." So it's gonna be fun. It's gonna be exciting. I'm really looking forward to it. I know the kids are as well. So, and I got a notification that my high school team's costumes were shipping. So hopefully we'll even have those. So. Good stuff all along.
That's amazing.
Yeah. So
super excited. So exciting.
Yeah.
Stephanie, what do you want to gush about?
So I got to talk with Jeremy and my whole family. We did an episode that'll come up here in a couple of weeks with my whole family over Christmas break. And so something that we have been talking about for a long time is starting some family episodes on A Water Break. And so I've been working on that. And I am so excited that we have some really cool people in our marching arts that are kind of all live under the same roof or have lived under the same roof. And so I'm super excited to get to bring those to you in 2024. So if you know someone that you think that our listeners would love to hear from, drop me a line or send it in and let Jeremy know. And we will talk to them and see if we can get them scheduled so that we can all hear what's going on family style.
So like with this family style setup, you guys are doing like people who are related to each other and in the marching arts and like people who pass it down generations.
Yes.
then.
Yes. Yeah, it's very cool hearing just kind of how some legacies were formed and maybe just what's coming up in the future and how they took lessons from their parents and passed it along, and some brother sister relationships. It's very cool. So I can't wait for you all to hear.
Oh, that's so cool. I always wished I could march with my sister. Like, I taught her for a while, and yeah, we were too far apart in age to ever actually be on a performing team together.
Yes.
And now she lives on the other side of the world. So, I mean, what do you do?
Yes, that's right. Well, you'll hear a little bit of that with the episode that Jeremy did with my kids. They obviously did high school band together, but they're doing college band together now. And so they touch on that a little bit about that sibling relationship.
I love that. Your son, I heard, didn't want to like march at first.
He did not. We tried and kind of made conscious decisions, my husband and I, when my kids were when they were small, that this activity was something that we would not ever force them to be in. But they did have to do it one time. They had to do 1 year. And so they did middle school band kind of with, that was no big deal. But then when it came time to do high school band, my son was like, yeah, I'm not going to do that. And it was kind of like a cartoon, like the world stopped spinning and it lost all of its color for about 30 seconds. And so anyway, we came to the thing was, you have to try it one time. And if you do not like it, you never have to do it again. But, and we all know, because we're in this activity, that especially when you're making that transition from junior high to high school, that is where you meet your friends. And you meet your friends and you get to be in the school before school starts, doing your summer band at band camp, and you learn the lay of the land. And there's some good life lessons that come that are far more reaching than playing your instrument and bringing home a trophy. But anyway, it didn't take long. It was before school started, when I picked up one day and he got in the car and he was like, yeah, I actually do think I kind of love this. So never looked back from there.
That's great.
Yeah.
That's
yeah.
awesome.
But, sometimes you got to get in there.
I'm going to pull it from you since you're at rehearsal. I can hear in the background.
Yes. Yeah, I'm still at the school.
Emily, what do you want to gush about this week?
Yes, my gosh. So I don't know how many of y'all follow college football, but my school was one of the schools that's going to play in the national championships this week.
Yes.
I'm so excited.
That is awesome. That's so cool.
So wait, when you get
great.
to play, like, do you do like your halftime show? Or just like, so like, I don't understand how this works. I'm learning a whole new education this week.
So let me explain something to you. So just for clarity, I'm actually an alumni of the band program. I am no longer in the band. Darn. But anyway, that's why alumni band exists. But bands who travel to the national championship do get to perform at halftime. So the two schools that are going are Michigan and, of course, my school, Washington. So it'll be really cool. It's going to be double cool because both bands are high-stepping bands, kind of like, Ohio State and that sort of thing.
Oh, nice.
Go Dogs.
That's awesome.
And they're here in my town. They're here in Houston. Which will be really fun. There's a lot of stuff downtown, that's free for this weekend that families can go down and, you can take pictures of the trophy and that type of thing. But really? Houston is so excited and ready to welcome Michigan and Washington.
Aw, well, looking forward to it.
I need to do a self gush for a moment because anybody who's been listening to the podcast for very long probably knows I'm a new mom. And new as in like 2 years ago, but still it feels like he was just born yesterday. So, and I am participating in the Blue Stars alumni band this summer, alumni corps. Whoa, what am I even saying? Yeah. So one of the things that I had to like figure out what I'm going to do is like, I have to get back into like performance shape because it's been almost 20 years since I marched. I was just realizing this the other day is like, how has it been so long? So yeah, anyway, my gosh is that one of the things I'm doing to like push myself back into working out constantly and getting back into performance shape is a yoga challenge. So if you guys follow me on my Instagram, you've probably seen my daily posts about doing yoga each day. And like my toddler is doing yoga with me, which makes it extra challenging. So I am getting back in shape and I'm just very excited because I have made it every single day so far this year. And don't at me that the year is only a week long so far. I'm gonna make it. I'm very excited.
Hey,
That's great.
It's called Gush and Go, not Gush and Stay. Let's go.
All right, everybody. It is time to get a good stretch in with Daniel from Forte Athletics. Get back on the field.
Hey, this is Christine Ream.
And Chris Green.
Guard Closet was founded as a consignment business in 2000. Since then, it has grown to include winter guard, band, percussion, and other genres.
We can help you with custom flag and costuming designs.
Our consignment inventory has plenty of great looks for your color guard, drumline, and marching band.
Pay it forward. When you purchase consignment, you help other programs. Last year, we sold over 400 sets of consignments and returned over $125,000 in payments to our consigners for their sales.
Additionally, Guard Closet offers custom and pre-designed costumes, flags, floors, and formal wear, full or partial show writing, educational programming, and other services.
Max out your rehearsal time and set up a microsite for easy student ordering for shoes, gloves, and other equipment.
The Guard Closet team is here to help you get everything you want and need for your season. Check us out at guardcloset.com and follow us on social media.
All right, everyone, we are back, and I've got a very special guest here with me today. I have Daniel Recoder from Forte Athletics. Dan, welcome to the show.
Thank you for having me. I'm excited to be here.
Yeah, man, it's really cool. You do a lot of different kind of education and health stuff in the marching arts. For our listeners that don't know, I'm sure you'll get to hear much more in a moment. But before we get going with that, could you catch our listeners up to speed with your 32 count life story?
Let's do it.
All right. You'll get 8 and in off the Met.
Good. So I am a marching fitness professional who really struggled a lot in drum corps and marching band. Like, it was the hardest thing I've ever had to do. I used to be the last person to finish runs, the last person to finish any type of physical training. And over time, I learned how to start exercising, training, and now I create fitness programs to help people succeed in marching band and drum corps.
Awesome.
Let's go.
Yeah, you brought yourself right in time. Yep, 32 counts. You nailed it. Cool. So let's break it down a little bit more. You said you started in band yourself before you got more into the athletics and health and wellness side of things. Bring us down your road a little bit just as a performer to maybe give some more context to your career.
Started on quads my freshman year of high school.
That's okay. It all makes sense now. This is why you needed to become a fitness expert. All right.
Yeah,
continue.
it was so hard, and there was multiple days where I just wanted to quit because my back. I'd never experienced any type of back pain like that before.
Oh yeah.
And my dad convinced me to just stick it out the season, even though I'm in his car crying, asking to quit. And he's like,
dude, this is so relatable. This is so relatable, except I was such a wimp that for me it was a 16-inch bass drum instead of a set of quads. It was just a tiny little 16-inch drum. But I remember I wanted to quit, and my parents were like, you can't quit. You have to at least see through the season.
Yes.
And so now I blame them. Anytime they want to ask why I'm so deeply involved and still doing all this stuff, it's your fault. I tried to quit when I was 13.
Same. So that's where I started, and it was always hard. But that's just where I ended up. And I fell in love with it, and then eventually one of my friends convinced me to do drum corps.
Okay.
And I tried out for Blue Devils B Corps.
All right.
And I didn't do a single squat, never did a crunch. I could barely run a lap around my neighborhood, which is about a half mile. And I just got thrown into the fire with these deep shell Dynasty quads.
Oh, not the Dynasties.
I know. And nobody prepared me for what was going to happen, and it knocked me on my butt.
Okay, but you did make Blue Devils B when you went out for it?
Yes,
that's nice.
I did.
Okay.
And that was the hardest thing I've ever had to do.
I could imagine. I always feel like your first season of drum corps or your first season of marching band is so hard because the muscles aren't developed yet.
Yeah, and you have no idea what to expect.
Exactly. And especially for many kids, because it's a young person activity, especially at like high school level. Many of the times you haven't done anything physical up until that point in your life. This is the first real difficult physical thing anyone's asking you to do. Were you from California, or did you travel out to California for BDB?
I live in the Bay Area, and I always have. And BDB was about a 50-minute drive away from me.
Oh, that's nice.
Bad.
I didn't. So BDB is up closer to like San Francisco and Oakland than.
Yeah, it's a little north of there.
Wow.
In Concord.
Okay.
Yeah, I actually live
for some reason.
I live in between Concord and Santa Clara.
Wow.
So we got BD up there, we got Vanguard down there.
See, that's me just being bad at geography, I guess. I always assumed that like Vanguard is from the like San Francisco Bay Area and that BD is from Southern California, but I'm just wrong, I guess.
Yeah, they're both from the Bay Area.
Wow. Okay. So are there no drum corps in Southern California then?
Oh, there are. You got Pacific Crest down there.
Oh, okay.
Impulse. Oh, there's another one down there. Gold
is from, okay. All right. Yeah, I definitely had myself tripped up then. I mean, I know there's so many drum lines out in that part of the country. I assumed that BD was there too, but a little bit off. Anyway, though, you started with BDB. Definitely that was kind of your coming of age experience, it sounds like, with that set of Dynasty quads. How were you able to like rise to that challenge, and did that do anything to like set you on the path that you're on today?
Well, I have this very distinct memory of like our first rehearsal where we had to do PT, and the objective was to run 10 laps around the basketball gym. Just run 10 laps around the gym.
Yeah.
And they were like, but don't skimp on any laps. We're counting all of them. And so within the first 3 laps, probably, I'm already getting overlapped by everybody. And it reached the point where I'm on like lap 7 or 8 and everyone is done and they're just waiting for me. And it was just, for me at that time, it was so embarrassing to feel like I'm that far behind everybody.
And yeah, I can definitely feel that way. I think that would probably be relatable for a lot of students in drum corps, having that sort of an experience. Yeah,
like this thing is just starting out and I'm already this far behind. Like it planted this seed in my head that I need to catch up or I'm going to get left behind.
Okay.
And so when the going got tough, which it did very quickly for me, I had to make the choice to keep going. And it's almost like I can't let my teammates down. It's for myself, it's for the team. And I quickly realized that no one cares if I'm tired. Everyone's tired. Everyone's tired, but everyone's showing up. And eventually, fast forward to like June, there's a super hot rehearsal where the staff says we're gonna work our endurance today. We're gonna do a run of the closer and then set your equipment down and run a lap. And then pick the equipment up, do another run of the closer, then set it down, run a lap. We did that 3 times. And we're going, and on top of that, I had blisters on my toes that were like, they had already popped. So they're all raw.
Yeah, there's levels to the blisters at drum corps.
Yes.
Once the blisters themselves have been defeated, that's when you know that you're really beaten down, I guess.
Yeah, like they already popped. So I'm running, I'm already in pain. And by the time we finish our final run around the field, we pick up the drums. I can't even feel my legs at all.
Mm-hmm.
And like I want to go sit out. I want to stop, but no one else is going to do that.
Yeah,
and I can't just be the only one. It's like, all right, peace out. Like I need to be there with everybody. Everyone there is suffering, or as I like to say now, everyone there is getting stronger.
Yep.
And
yeah,
so
nobody
we
suffers. We just get stronger. I like that.
Right. So about halfway through that rev of the closer, I experienced this bizarre phenomenon where I could not physically keep my feet in time. I knew they were out of time. My brain knew your feet are slow, move them faster, and I'm trying, but they can't keep up with the tempo. And I'd never experienced that before. And I'm just giving everything I have to just finish the rep.
Yeah, right.
Just finish the rep. I got tears coming down my face. And then eventually it finishes. And I could see that everybody was in shock. But, you know, they told us it's times like this where we need to learn how to dig deep to discover how much fuel we have in our tank. And we got to take our bar, we got to push it further away. And it's a very valuable life lesson to learn, especially at a young age like that. I was 19.
Yeah.
To realize that you always have more in you than you ever believed. But you have to put yourself in a situation that challenges you in order for you to truly discover what you're capable of.
Right. It's the same concept I talk to my own students a lot about musically, is like being comfortable being uncomfortable. Like if you just get the book and you can do it, that's not a good thing. You should be in places where you're uncomfortable, and then you as a person need to figure out how you're comfortable with that. Many of the people in band, I think, understand that concept for getting better at their instrument. I think that it's a little more lost when you apply that concept towards physicality and muscle development. Just because it sucks, it hurts. It doesn't feel good to be at like the exhaustion point, which that's what it sounded to me a lot like. It sounded like the rep literally pushed you to exhaustion, almost like you're at the gym and you're trying to reach your exhaustion point on like a set of lifts or something like that.
Yeah, it was a rep that trained to failure. And I knew I was failing,
it went to
but
failure.
I couldn't stop.
That's good though. The staff knew too that they were pushing you guys towards failure. That's maybe something that the students don't realize a lot of the time too when they're being asked to do PT. It's like, as your instructor, I know if I'm asking you to do something that's like crazy hard, you're probably not going to like be great at that. It's usually because that difficult process of being uncomfortable, of pushing your body beyond the limits you thought you had, that's what's going to make you grow and get better.
It's the only way.
So that, I imagine, it sounds like that experience is kind of like the foundation or the inspiration for the business that you run today. Am I correct in thinking that?
Yes. Like when I think about everything that could have helped me prepare for that first season of drum corps, a training program, some sort of like education, none of that existed back then in 2009.
Okay. Yeah.
None of
Nothing
that
like that existed.
No, like I wanted to exercise and get in shape for it. Like I had that want in my head, but because there was no clear plan and no guidance, I just didn't do anything. Right.
So that's where you come in the year 2023. What sort of, this is a very broad question, I guess, because on one hand, your business itself, I'm sure, offers a lot of specific, workout programs, clinics, gear, and things like that helps people train. And on a more general sense, you have a lot of knowledge and information you could share with folks on how they can best prepare. What does Forte Athletics do today to try to help a student who's maybe like Daniel at BDB in 2009?
So the first goal is to help educate the community. So we do that by making YouTube videos that are targeted towards like the performing member, but also educational videos for the staff and instructors. Because I think it's important for the staff to know that, understand the risks involved with this activity. And if they want to push the envelope, they need to help the members prepare for that. And so that's where we come in to say, like, you want to push the envelope, we want to help your performers have the physical capability of doing that without getting hurt.
Yeah.
But the only way to get there is if they're training. And particularly in the drum corps setting, you know, day one happens and you hit the ground running. It is high intensity, long duration. And if people are just, a lot of them are students. They're sitting at a desk, sitting, doing homework, sitting, doing blah, blah, blah. And their joints, their tendons, their ligaments, they're not used to that kind of stress.
Right.
And so as soon as you hit the ground running like that, recipe for overuse injuries. And once it happens,
once it happens, it's not going to bounce back exactly the same way, at least without lots of training and stuff like that. But I'd even go a step further on the student thing and say, like, you know, me and many of my friends, it's not like we were sports kids, like we were band kids. Many of the students that get into this, I don't think realize how much of an athletic thing they are signing themselves up for. You know, even just at the high school level, it can get pretty athletic. But especially if you try to take that step beyond, it's like now you're signing up to be an endurance athlete. Like, and you probably don't come from a cross country background if you play, you know, in the drum line or something like that. You know, maybe you do, but most of us don't. Are there certain groupings of exercises like cardio compared to strength, or muscle groups perhaps, that you think are the most important for training someone to be a boss at marching, as I think I saw on the Forte Athletics website?
Yeah. So on that note, there's this study that was done it was published by the American Academy of Pediatrics that measured,
got sources. I like this.
Yeah.
Nice.
I just made a video on this, so it's fresh in my mind. It measured the amount of reported marching band injuries between 2012 and 2021. During that time frame, there was 20,335 injuries reported from marching band. And I think like 80% of those were from the high school demographic.
Okay.
Ages
I think
14
that's the
to 18.
largest number. Yeah, there's a lot of high school marching bands out there, so that makes sense, like volume wise, but continue.
And that's just the ones that were reported. You know how many drum corps injuries don't get reported?
Most of them.
Exactly. Most of them. And so within that study, it also identifies the common areas that were injured, like what parts were injured the most. And the knee and the ankle were the two most injured body parts, with the spine in a close third. So if we look at that data, the most important exercises to train are exercises that support the knee, the ankle, and the spine.
Yeah.
Because like if we can strengthen those areas, it's going to help the body move better, move more efficiently, and like withstand the weight of marching with equipment on. So if you want to get specific exercises, something like a clamshell. If anyone's familiar with a clamshell, it's where you lie on your side, your legs bent, and then you raise one knee up, and then bring it down. Kind of looks like this. I'm doing it with my arms, but
but I get it. I've seen that one. I know what you're talking about.
Or you can simply just lie down on your side with your leg straight and lift your leg up to the sky and slowly lower it down. That muscle's on the outside of the hip. Exercises like that, something like heel raises, that can be done anywhere. And for the spine, the most important exercise that I'm preaching everywhere is the hollow body. The hollow body hold it's like you're on your back. You're on your back and you are training your lower abdomen. the one that connects down at the pelvis.
Okay.
And you just keep your back flat to the ground and you straighten one leg out. And if your muscles engaged, you'll hold it. If your abs disengaged, your back will arch off the floor.
Yeah. My back arches off the floor.
So I love that exercise because you can scale it to any experience level. Like at the rehab clinic I used to work at, I would do the exercise with patients, but rather than extending the legs, they just keep their knees bent, legs tucked. And you just hold that. And then when they're ready, just slide one leg out and then pull it back. Slide it out, pull it back. So if somebody's a complete beginner, they can do that exercise. If they're a super advanced athlete, there's a variation for them. Hands overhead, both legs out, hold the weight if you want.
Yeah, right. Yeah. You can scale all types of body weight exercises up way more than I think people like will give credit to body weight exercises for. Do you think that there's an advantage to like being in the gym and using equipment if you were training for drum corps or doing body weight? Because here, you go ahead, but I could imagine maybe that like you might want to do body weight exercises because a lot of doing drum corps is moving your body weight. But tell me what you think.
So I personally believe that a blend of both would be ideal. But knowing that demographic and knowing how I was when I was in that demographic, the college age range, I didn't go to the gym. I didn't go to a gym until I was 24 years old.
Right.
And
I haven't gone since I was 24, but continue.
But I would work out at home because that's where I felt comfortable.
Right.
And so I think what's very special and unique about our programs is that we cater to both demographics, people that want to work out at home and people that want to work out at the gym. And within those two demographics, there's a broad spectrum of experience levels. Some people want to work out at home, and this is the first time they're exercising in 3 years.
Right.
Some people also want to work out at home, and they've been doing it for 4 years. And so our programs provide variations that target the same muscle, just at different intensities so that people can choose, am I a beginner, intermediate, or advanced? You just got to pick one. You know, where are you today?
Yeah,
and
right.
Whatever it is, it just has to challenge them appropriately because it's not a one-size-fits-all approach. And there's a lot of thought, there's a lot of time that goes into crafting something that can cater to as many people as possible.
Yeah, it sounds like a really excellent resource, man. It even sounds like something for people who are aged out. Like, say you're an instructor. A lot of our listening demographic is instructors and band directors. There's a lot of resources out there to help your students, it sounds like. I would love to hear a little bit more about that in a second. But even as an instructor, I feel like I might benefit from going and taking a look at like the beginning, intermediate level at home workouts on your page too, just because I haven't been in the gym since I was 24, like I said. So like there's probably a lot out there that would be just holistically beneficial for all of the listeners, not just people that are marching right now.
Yeah.
But before we wrap up, why don't you tell us a little bit more about what resources you have for staff who are looking, you know, to help train their own students to be better marchers?
Yeah. So we have many different programs that can help the students, and they're designed to be performed at different seasons. Our biggest one that we've launched is called Marching Band Boot Camp 2. And it's a 4-week follow-along workout program to help students train during the summer. So that way, when they show up to band camp, they've been moving.
No, that seems like it'd be so beneficial.
Yeah, it's a great resource, and it's totally free, 100% free.
Nice.
And all the workouts are, I think, 20 minutes long in there. So it's not too long, but like they're moving for 20 minutes.
Yeah.
And
so
I'll follow along, no equipment.
That's a question I actually had a little bit. What types of workouts do you think are best? Because I used to think that like HIIT workouts made the most sense in like a direct application to what band is asking you to do. Like if you're being asked to do some explosive movement and then get to a hold, or even if it's just a more explosive move and then a smaller one that's not as hard for you, but 15 seconds later, there's another harder one coming. As I worked my way through my marching career, felt like a HIIT workout was probably the best thing that you could be doing to like really directly train for your show. What's your perspective on that?
I'm all for HIIT training. Our drum corps programs this year are in the style of every minute on the minute.
Okay.
And so you just set a timer, and if you're a beginner, you're doing 20 seconds. If you're intermediate, 30 seconds. Advanced, 40 seconds.
Okay.
You do your work period, and then you rest. That type of interval training is very efficient, which is important for busy people.
Right.
And it's also super effective because it gets you sweating. It gets your heart rate up. You're never just like sitting around for a minute. You're sitting down for like a small window of time, and then you go again. And we keep the workout selection simple. It's like 3 or 4 exercises. That's the circuit. Because the more complex it is, the harder it is for people to follow and do.
Totally.
You gotta keep it simple.
Yeah, I totally agree with that. That sounds like me when I'm like at the gym back in the day and I'm trying to like keep track of these different weights on this day, and I've pushed my max here, and I've done this other set of. After a while, it just became too much, and I didn't keep up with it because I didn't give myself a system that's easy enough to follow. So I think that's wise, having a good, straightforward plan.
And
That's good.
with that said, for my own personal training, I'll probably do 1 or 2 HIIT workouts a week. But I enjoy doing the strength training at the gym, or like on some gymnastics rings.
Okay.
I enjoy that. It's not the most time efficient. It'll take me about 50 minutes to an hour to complete my workout, but it satisfies me.
Right.
And, how I train is not necessarily how the drum corps demographic needs to train right now.
Yeah, I'd imagine you guys have different goals. You're working towards different
I'm not going to be on the field,
if you will.
Yeah, I'm not marching. I'm not holding quads no more.
You don't want to go do all age? You could get right back in there, man.
No, I have made it very clear that I'm done carrying quads.
Yeah, I think that's for the best. I feel
I'm not doing it.
I feel like there needs to be an age out of quad drumming.
Yeah. Sometimes, like when I demonstrate something for the quads, I'll put the drums on, and it reminds me of how crazy that weight is. To hold for that long. I'm like, man, I feel so bad for you.
And it's so funny. It's so funny to me. Like the biggest drum I ever marched, I got so lucky. I was always just playing bass 1 or bass 2. So the biggest drum I ever marched was a 22-inch drum. I will walk into teaching a high school and for a freshman's first day, put him on a drum that's bigger than any drum I've ever played. Like, welcome to marching band, kiddo. Here's a 28-inch bass drum.
Yes.
You're going to wear it.
That happens.
Yeah. That's exactly what you were talking about as your origin story almost, is showing up there and then just kind of getting thrown into the fire of like, well, I need to be more fit.
Yeah, and I think that us instructors and directors, we're aware of what we're doing when we're putting this heavy equipment on them. And there's this level, this voice in our head that kind of feels bad for this student.
Does.
Like, even for me, I feel bad that this kid has to wear quads and he's 14 years old. But at the same time, this is what they want to do. No one's making them do this. And, the best thing we can offer that student is a fitness program to help them handle their equipment better.
Right. I agree. Yeah. I think that's not usually the perspective that instructors have. They're not thinking too hard about how, to an extent, it's our responsibility just as much as it's our responsibility to teach the music. It's our responsibility to make sure you actually can do what we're asking you to do physically. You know, we shouldn't just shoulder that on a 14-year-old and expect him to go whip himself into shape so that he's good at his show.
Yeah, that's
Might
not
be a
going to
time
happen.
where it's good to get back into that like old school mindset a little bit, embrace a little bit of PT, but do it in a way that's intelligent and based off some science rather than just sending you. I've definitely had some instructors on the East Coast that will just give you some brutal brutal
Yeah,
PT,
it needs
which
to be
might not.
applicable to them.
Yeah, that's why it's a good thing that there's good resources. Where can our listeners find these resources that you have available? That way they can help their students.
Yeah, so if you go to forteathletics.net/programs, you'll see all of our programs laid out on there. And the one I referred to earlier is called Marching Band Bootcamp 2.
Okay.
And that one is 100% free and does not require any equipment.
Nice.
And
full body weight,
cool is that,
fully free.
Yeah, and during the summer, when it's supposed to be used during the summer, I will export all of the workout tracking data so that instructors can see which students are participating and how well they are participating. There's this accountability factor to it.
So that is that's a big deal. It's not just that you're telling people what workouts to do. It's also that you have a set of infrastructure of some type to help make sure that students are actually keeping up with the assignment and completing the workouts.
Correct.
That's good. That's the real value add. I mean, that's not the real value. There's a lot of value in a lot of different aspects of what you bring, but that's a big thing that I'm glad that we touched on here at the end. So Forte Athletics, did you say .net?
Yeah, .net/programs.
Perfect. And then where could they find you on social media?
Social media, Instagram, TikTok, Facebook at forte.athletics.
Awesome. Well,
yeah.
Daniel, it's been really good having you on the show, man. Really interesting getting to hear all this like health and wellness stuff from an actual professional. Because normally it's just a bunch of drummers just like acting like David Goggins or something, just like being like, yeah, we need to work harder. And there's not as much good thought behind it as it feels like you and your business puts forward. So it's a great resource. Everybody listening should go check it out. And thanks for coming on the show, man.
Yeah, thanks for having me. I appreciate you.
All right. Well, Daniel is about to go get started with a PT block back there on the field. So let's all get back out there. Not me, because I'm the instructor. But we'll be with you in a bit.
Thank you so much to Stephen for grabbing Daniel from Forte Athletics. Our activity is growing at an exponential rate as it relates to athleticism. We're very lucky to have organizations like Forte to really be examining what we are as marching arts people. We really, really need to keep our bodies in shape. Somebody needs to start a psychology study of what it's like to be in such an athletic and also performance activity, because I feel like no one out there is dealing with the level of commitment to the character or story while simultaneously having to be a decathlon athlete quite the way that we are doing in the marching arts.
Hey, funny you mentioned that, because when I'm not being a huge band nerd, I am actually in school to be a psychology person.
Yeah.
So maybe that'll be my research thing. Who knows?
So Emily, I've got $1 million idea for you. Let's talk.
Okay.
All right, now I have to totally switch the topic, because there is a growing issue on social media that I think is really, really important for us to understand, and it is color guard spam accounts. Spam accounts in general. I don't want people to think that this is just something that only happens in color guard or only happens in marching band. There's two sides to this. And the thing that's frustrating me right now is that there's an illegal component that is occurring that is taking people's content without their permission and using it to make money. Okay. So kind of just so some people understand what's going on here with the spam accounts. A spam account is basically an account where you take other people's content that you did not necessarily create and you post it. So like if you were a color guard spam account, you would be taking the content from, you might take my content, you might take content from Pride of Cincinnati, you might take content from just some random Stephanie who's in her backyard spinning her flag, and you will post all this content on your account. Now, on the one hand, like if you are posting that and you're also linking to those people's profiles so that you can share the love and get them more exposure or whatever, more followers, awesome. That's great. We love sharing color guard and we love giving credit back to the owners. But what these color guard spam accounts that I have a problem with are doing is they're taking people's content, they're pretending to tag the creators and alert the creators that their content was shared. And the way they do that is they will steal it from like TikTok and share it on Instagram with the TikTok handle, or vice versa. They'll go from Instagram to TikTok and they won't actually tag the Instagram account. So these people don't necessarily get notified that their content is being shared. And then they have this little thing that's like, oh, if you love color guard, click our link in bio. And then you go to their link in bio and it's all this like random color guard merch. Okay. And it's like different sayings we have and different like color guard cultural stuff. And it's so like, I'm literally about to cry right now. It makes me so mad because like what's going to happen is like grandma is going to be scrolling Instagram and she's going to be like, oh, look, there's a video of Stephanie in her backyard spinning her flag. And, oh, there's this link that connects to t-shirts. I'm going to buy her a shirt and I'm going to assume that that shirt is going to support her color guard. And here, when you actually trace these accounts and like track through all of their metadata and everything, they're like some random country in Asia that has no color guards or nothing.
Oh, wow.
And I don't want to be like pinpointing and saying like, oh, it's only Asia, but that's the only place I've found any of these accounts so far. So even if they aren't in Asia, that's where they're getting routed through. So it's like, they have nothing to do with color guard. They're just there to make money. They're linked up with other accounts that do like cheer or not even like school stuff. Like I've seen mom content accounts that do this too, these spam accounts. And then they like sell t-shirts in between. But let me tell you, when the moms figure this out, a bunch of them jump on these accounts and report them. And so that's kind of one of the things I've been trying to motivate people to do in the color guard community is report these accounts that are making money off of other people's content without their knowledge, basically.
Yeah, all the things you're talking about, Jackie, is that I feel your pain too, because as the podcast artist, I can also relate to this a lot. Fortunately, I haven't seen any of my art stolen yet, but I do know that this is something that does happen in the art community too. So we have some solidarity here about people taking our content and trying to sell it as their own without proper recognition. So I feel you, Jackie. We must protect the arts.
All right. Okay. I get it. It's time for the news. Emily and I are just going to keep pumping each other up here. I guess we got to move on. First up, and I hope you enjoyed me using you as an example of spinning your flag in your backyard, Stephanie.
Yes, always. All right. So first up in the news this week is there is an article that's going around, and the headline says, Alabama called out for peak pettiness as school's marching band trolls Michigan with Rose Bowl performance. So basically what happened is you have these two powerhouse college bands. So you have University of Alabama $1 Million Band, and then you have the Michigan Wolverine Marching Band. Both of them, huge college bands. So at the University of Michigan, they have Mr. Brightside that they play a lot by the Killers. And I think that's kind of like one of their trademark, like their thing is to play that song. Well, the University of Alabama used it in their halftime show. And so now there are these Michigan fans. I don't know if they're actually band members, but they're Michigan fans that are coming out and they're like, oh my gosh, they were trying to roast us. And that's our song. So obviously you all know my kids go to the University of Alabama. They're both in the $1 Million Band. And so this is kind of what I would say to that. When they put that field show on, back, I think it was actually the end of October, early November. So Alabama does 2 field shows, kind of one that goes early football season, kind of midway through, and then they switch and they do a second one that takes them through bowl season. And so when they put on that second show that has Mr. Brightside in it, they were ranked number 8 in the college football poll. So and Michigan was ranked number 2. So if you're an Alabama fan, which I am, and someone had said, you're going to play University of Michigan in a bowl game, I would have said, you are absolutely crazy. There is absolutely no way that we will ever make it to the college football playoffs. And I'm a Power fan. And then lo and behold, that's what happened. So I don't think, and we talked to Kevin Welburn on a water break, and so I mean, his heart and what he's like. But I think in the mind of Alabama, there was absolutely no way that they would ever play Michigan. It just, who jumped 6 spots? There's so much controversy in them going to the Rose Bowl anyway, but I don't think it was a slam against Michigan. I think it's just a really great tune that they thought they'd play at halftime. And it just so happened they ended up playing at the Rose Bowl. So, so that's the story. But so I don't think it was a dish at Michigan. I think it's just a really great song.
It is. It's good. It's good music. The Killers have some good marching tunes. Man.
Yeah, they're fantastic.
Emily, what you got for us?
Yes. Up next in news, it's actually about the Style Plus company. So they're having a new site, which is going to be a warehouse, which used to be a cookie plant. So now they're moving into the old building where the Davis Cookie & Co. used to be. So I think it's really cool. You get more space for marching band stuff.
We love us
cookies
some
and color guard uniforms is kind of my favorite.
Exactly. Something sweet and something sweet. There we go.
That's right.
Wait, does this mean I'm going to have to download new shipping maps for all of our sales from Style Plus?
Yep. I bet so.
Well, let's change gears back to WGI a little bit, because I have our story from WGI about their virtual preview. So, of course, several years ago, when COVID was happening, we ended up with the virtual season, and now WGI has not completely gotten rid of that. So they've kind of morphed it into this virtual events situation. And so this year they have a virtual preview where you can actually take a video of your show at the beginning of the season and send it into the WGI virtual preview and receive feedback from one or more. I don't know if you get feedback from every clinician, but you get feedback from WGI professional clinicians. So if you are a color guard, the clinicians are Becca Anderson from Juxtaposition Winter Guard and the Mandarins Drum and Bugle Corps, or Daniel Wiles, who is from Avon. He does visual and color guard at Avon. And then for percussion, they have Tony Lyman, who is from Crown. He does audio caption for Crown. Noah Bellamy, who does... There's not just a list. I have to actually look at a paragraph to to pull people's... he does a lot of visual programs for multiple different groups. Plymouth Canton Educational Park and Nation Ford High School. He's also a judge. Zach Novicki, he is the Associate Director of Bands at Southgate. And then LSM Performing Arts, he's Director CEO. Stephen Alia. I've known him for a long time actually, and I don't know how to say his last name. Alia, Alia. He's the director for Horizon Winds. He works with LSM. And then he's a judge, and he works with a lot of other different groups across the country as well. So basically, you send in your show to WGI's virtual preview, and they will judge it. They're also, you guys were telling me earlier, they're also doing like virtual solos and stuff too.
Yeah, they've done virtual solo and ensemble for, I believe it actually started COVID year, so this would be the 4th year. And you do your solo, your ensemble, wherever. Some people do record in a gym. There are people that record at like a really beautiful park. It can kind of be from minimalistic to all the way through. And they upload them on Flow, and you can watch them. It's a prelims of finals, so you do your prelim performance whenever. It's like January, February, and then finals is usually kind of around like that March, April timeframe, late March, April timeframe. But I've watched the past couple of years. My kids have participated. It's really great, and you actually do get commentary back on Comp Suite. And so it's one judge, but you do get a score. You do get a score sheet, and you get the commentary back on Comp Suite. So if you have students that haven't done that before, it's a really great thing to take advantage of. It's like $20. It's really inexpensive.
We did it in 2022. Well, we did the whole virtual season, obviously, in 2021. And then I thought, you know what? Let's just enter. We went to one regional in 2022, but I was like, let's just enter one of the virtual ones. And I found it to be very positive too. I think it's a great thing. And like you said, it gives us something else to watch, shows that we wouldn't have seen, on Flow. There are schools that probably still are a little leery about travel for a multitude of reasons, not just COVID, financial things and stuff like that, that this is a really good outlet for them. I found it very positive, and, it's great.
So anybody who wants to do that, WGI Virtual. Also, CGN, Color Guard Netherlands, does a similar solo and ensemble competition in the spring, which is kind of like after WGI season ends, you can send in your stuff to Color Guard Netherlands as well. And it's a pretty neat situation. Stephanie, what's the next one you got for us?
All right. So on DCI this week, they put out, it was the 12 most viewed videos of 2023. So basically, they're just turning back the clock to January of 2023, and they're showing us what their 12 most viewed videos were. And let me tell you, it is a variety of things. So you've got... like number 11 is how basketball's Bob Knight dribbled into drum corps. So you've got from that all the way back through to like some show reveals, all the way through to like 2023 Blue Devils, their encore performance. But if you just have some time to sit down and just kind of watch a couple of videos, this is a really good place to start. Or if there's maybe something you missed, or you're like, I'm just going to hop on YouTube for a little bit and kill some time, go back to this article and come all the way through, because there's some really great things in here. So there's like, the number 10 is From Boston to the Big House, and it's a Boston Crusaders trumpet who is also the drum major at Michigan, since we were just talking about the Michigan Wolverine band. So you can kind of see kind of the life of this kid going from a Boston trumpet into his role as the drum major. There is their number 9 video. There is a video it's called The Next Chapter, from DCA to DCI All Age. And so it's really taking a look, it kind of goes in depth about the DCA cores and I think kind of what the role is going to be as they change in 2024. And then also some Marine band stuff. I mean, it is literally a variety of stuff. So tune in and check at that, but it's a great list of 12 really quality videos.
Trish.
So what I have is DCI just recently posted on their website the top 10 competitive headlines of 2023. The most clicked on DCI.org headlines. And it is, as you can imagine, very Blue Devil heavy. I mean, after the phenomenal season that they had, it kind of chronicles, their climb to the top. There's a couple of little cool little other entries to that list. One of my personal favorites, Carolina Crown, when they made their debut, that got a lot of hits. That actually came in at number 8. But the the main story is, the Blue Devils climb to the top, and how they piece together their, historic world championship. And it's really cool. So actually the headline itself on the #1 article is actually kind of cool. Blue Devils cut out place in history, because their show was the Cutouts. So
right.
Yeah, so that was really well worded. So yeah, if you're a Blue Devils fan, you don't want to miss that list.
All right, everyone. Thanks for a great rehearsal this week. Thank you to our hosts, Trish, Stephanie, and Emily. Thank you to Daniel from Forte Athletics. You can follow them at forte.athletics. Make sure you go subscribe, write us a review, and share this with a friend. Make sure you follow us on our social media at On a Water Break, and we'll see you at the next rehearsal on a water break.
Go practice.
The On a Water Break podcast was produced by Jeremy Williams and Christine Ream. The intro and outro music was produced by Josh Lyda. To learn more, visit lydamusic.com. And until next time, thanks for tuning in.